Friends, this morning we have Dr. Kharul from National Chemical Laboratory, rather ex-National Chemical Laboratory, a rare example of a scientist starting his own business and startup, successfully runs it with 10 employees. So this is a very rare example in the country because normally the research papers or research is not converted by many scientists into a product which doesn't support the national growth, that is GDP. So today, Mr. Makarand Vaidya, our Tech Forum member, is going to introduce the speaker because I will not talk much about it. But a scientist converted into a industry person is a rare example, and we need such more and more examples. That's why Tech Forum values such people. Tech Forum is a group of like-minded technocrats, and we meet twice a month online, sometimes offline at either Institution of Engineers or Pune Management Association. Once in a month, we also support work-life balance. So we have sponsored partly today's program on Swarasha. It is based on uh, musical tribute to Asha Bhosle. So those who are interested can join at 5:15 at Aishwarya Hotel today evening. With this a little introduction about the Tech Forum, please do visit our YouTube channel where you will find all the 33 recordings. Also, you can visit our website and understand our motto behind running this Tech Forum. Without spending much time, I am requesting Makaravendra to introduce Dr. Ulhas Kharul. Over to Makaran.
Thank you, sir. I'm very glad to introduce my friend, Dr. Kharul. He's a very humble scientist and entrepreneur. It's honor of forum to have such person among us. I myself is very proud to use one of the classic examples. The
Little
tech
louder.
forum actually helps some. Little louder.
Your voice is very low.
Oh my God. One moment.
Dr. Kharul, can you hear Makaran?
Can you hear now? Can you hear now?
Now you're better. Now you're better.
Yeah, I think I removed that. I removed that Bluetooth. Okay, now I'm talking straight directly on the mic. Okay, of iPad. So actually, it is Dr. Kharul's interaction with Tech Forum is a classic example of how the Tech Forum actually mutually benefit each other. Actually, Dr. Kharul had one problem. He was working in NCL, and he had one problem of mechanical engineering problem. So I visited him with Mr. Rabde, and then we resolved his problem. At the same time, I had one problem. I'm a Tech Forum member, and Dr. Kharul successfully tackled two problems. Actually, tackled. So this way, we actually started interacting. He worked for in NCL CSIR for 28 years. He was a supervisor for about 20 students, PhD students. He had up till published about 125 technical papers. He holds patents of 28 international patents. Okay, he was engaged in technical tech transfers. One such example is Tata Swatch. So why the echo is there? Anyway, now I will switch to the present tense. What he is doing, he is actually engaged in the represent. He will explain in his presentation, but he actually is engaged in biogas purification. That is removal of CO2 from biogas to make it more pure and more tangible fuel. He also is engaged in membrane dehumidifier. That is removing of moisture from air. As Rabde was telling me that he is also engaged in separation of N2, nitrogen from air. At the same time, it is O2 from air. It is like a gas separation. Membrane technology, as we all know, is only about the water, RO, etc., etc. But let's just focus ourselves on membrane technology in the perspective of gas separation, which is a very high technological thing, not simple to digest, actually speaking. He is honored by various awards as a Scientist of the Year of NCL Research Foundation and Technology of the Year two times. I had been to his house to visit, and I saw in his showcase all these awards, and I was very happy to see those. He was also one of the member of a startup ecosystem by NCL CSIR in 2014. He started his startup company while working in NCL, and I could see that how he was rushing from also Rabde, how he was rushing from NCL to his company. His company is in Pauna Industrial Estate, Bhosri. So he used to rush to that place and again come back to NCL. He worked while retiring. He took a voluntary retirement. While reworking, he was working as an outstanding scientist. He had I have interacted with his staff. As Rabde said, he has 10 staff, and I interacted with them. Some of them are with him for many years, and needless to say, Mr. Kharul is an employment generator. He is not a actually. He's very means his activities are very means nice to see, nice to visit sometimes. So over to Kharul, sir. Please start, sir, your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vaidya and Mr. Rabde, for your kind words. Yes, we have been interacting since long, and I must thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about membrane technology. Now, membrane is basically some separation. Now, separation is known to everybody, but membrane, this is something like probably 20 years back. We were knowing only RO membrane, but as now we're looking around, other areas are also expanding. And I thought probably as a person who know this area to some extent should speak about what we should do in India, what are the challenges and what are the opportunities. But before I do that, I thought I'll also spend at least 30 to 30% of my time on introducing membrane or different processes covered under membrane, and then shift to Indian scenarios, in Indian scenario opportunities or whatever. So cell wall, our any cell wall of a any living species is basically a membrane which allows some permeation, some restriction. I think I have a definition in another way, so in another slide. But some examples here as a photograph. Maybe if you take a fruit and the outer layer can be thought as a membrane. We know this example, the third one, that we need to put air again and again just because out of that rubbery tube the air keep passing out because of the pressure difference. So inside the tube there is a high pressure, outside it's atmospheric pressure. So air keeps going out from the tube and we need to refill it. Another example you must be knowing, or many of you may be knowing, blood dialysis. So blood dialysis machine has a heart of it is a membrane cartridge, and that membrane cartridge is a life-saving example of how membrane technology is indispensable in some of the cases. Coming to day-to-day life, you may be knowing other examples like this water purification. There are so many advertisement we see. In addition, concentration of milks. So if you go to US or European countries, we normally get condensed milk. In India, we are transporting a huge amount of milk, and milk is something like around 85% water. So lot of water we unnecessarily transport. So fruit juice clarification. I mean, you see appy, converted appy you are getting from apple, and that involves some membrane-based processes for getting you that particular liquid which you can drink easily with a good aroma and whatever. Gas barrier packaging or smart packaging is another area which is coming up, and we see even now small biscuits packed in a good packet which can last for months. Probably 20 years back, this month concept probably was not there. Then weatherproof apparel, etc. There are so many examples. I don't want to get stuck into this, but I would start with something like a historical perspective on this particular slide. So membranes is not something new. The semi permeability of a layer is known since probably 1947, the first report. Then in World War II, Germany used membranes for checking contamination of water after the bombardment. In 57, US Public Health Service and American Waterworks Association accepted the use of membrane for coliform and bacteria recovery. And 1960 to 61, asymmetric membranes were prepared by a pair called Loeb Saurirajan in Canada. Saurirajan, you can understand, it's an Indian name. And this was the actual beginning of a synthetic membrane or commercialization of membrane. Now, this is the pair. He passed away probably in 2022, Dr. Saurirajan. And he and Loeb has proposed a process for making membrane on a larger scale on a repeatability basis, and with some process which was then expanded into another areas of membrane. And he is generally discussed in literature as father of reverse osmosis. But I would also add the phrase that it's a phase inversion process. So they take a polymer solution and convert into solid membrane, and this is a phase inversion, I would say, at this moment of time. But then this phase inversion process is then extensively developed for making membranes for other applications in addition to reverse osmosis. This is a YouTube. If some people are interested, they can go through this. So conventional definition, membrane is a thin barrier which permits selective mass transport, or it's a medium which acts as a barrier to transport selectively into or out of some region of either liquid mixture or gas or whatever. Now, membrane, I'm talking about synthetic membrane. So synthetic membrane can be either a mixture of solid, liquid, or gas. Now, this solid membranes, we know RO membrane or whatever. Now, liquid membrane, there are some examples which I'm going to discuss. Gas membrane, this is on exploratory level. Now, membrane can do some change in the composition. Once something is permeating, that means the composition is changed. It can modify the permeating spaces, it can transport ions, and it also can regulate the rate of permeation from one side of the bulk to the another side of your bulk. So permeation rate and transport mechanisms. So when you want to permeate something, there has to be some driving force and magnitude of driving force. Then what is permeating through the membrane? For example, if we talk about cycle tube, probably when you talk about oxygen and nitrogen, oxygen will permeate faster. So size, shape is important. I'll probably discuss more on this. And what is the nature of permeating molecule and a membrane material, whether they interact with each other, whether they don't interact with each other. This is highly important when we talk about commercial applications. Now, as far as classification is concerned, I would put it this way, that biological membrane and synthetic membrane. So we will talk today only on synthetic membrane. They can be active or passive, and the structure can be classified based on the porosity. For example, porous membrane or non-porous membrane, whether the porosity is symmetric or that porosity or non-porosity, whether it is symmetric, asymmetric, or composite. And I have some pictures for this. So this is something like a symmetric membrane. You can see all the pores are almost the same size all over the bulk of the membrane. Now, this is asymmetric membrane. wherein the skin is doing the job of separation, and after that there's a huge porosity which allows fast permeation of a molecule or whatever fluid you're talking on the surface, and that passes faster. Now, thin film composite is something like there is a layer and then there is a porous substructure at the bottom. This layer is doing the selective permeation. For example, RO membrane, they are of this type, thin film composite, wherein on the skin of the porous membrane, there is selectivity governed by only this, and after that, the fluid passes fast. Now, these are all hollow fiber membrane. So thin film composite membranes can be made in flat sheet, hollow fiber, or whatever, or metallic and inorganic combination. So commercial membranes are normally of this type, mostly of this type, except probably the conventional PP membrane or Teflon membrane used in biotechnology areas on a small scale. Most of the membranes are of this type on a commercial application. Another classification is based on material of construction. It can be polymeric, inorganic, metallic, or blending of these. And physical form, I think I have pictures of this in the next slide: flat sheet, hollow fiber, and tubular. So we know tubes are assembled together in some shell like this, and you can pass feed from shell side or feed from tube side depending on the application, depending on the nature of membrane. Spiral module, normally RO module, if you have opened, they are something like this, wherein if I open this further, I can see some different parts. They are basically feed spacer, permeate spacer, and membrane envelope. Now, this membrane envelope concept, I don't want to explain here, but then it's explained probably here that this is your membrane, and there is a permeate spacer inside, and there is a feed spacer in between the two envelopes. Now, why that envelope case? I think we can discuss separately if somebody is interested. Hollow fibers. This is a microscope. This is a simple image of a membrane, but if you take a scanning electron microscope, probably these membranes have skin either on the top side or bottom side. Regulation of your its selection or the selective properties can be governed either from inside or outside. The way we saw here, that feed can be from the tube side or shell side, same is applicable here in hollow fiber membrane module. So, membrane processes can be classified based on the driving force. For example, pressure or concentration or electrical potential gradient or temperature gradient. And I have some examples here. So most of you might have, microfiltration, ultrafiltration, nanofiltration. Now, microfiltration is normally used for removing suspended solids or bacteria or algae. Ultrafiltration is little smaller porosity. It is impermeable to larger molecules, colloids, viruses, proteins, and bacteria. Now, proteins is again a family of materials, so some protein can pass through, some protein can be retained. Nanofiltration is basically, further reducing porosity, wherein this would be the smallest possible porosity we can generate. That is what I would say. The help of chemistry or engineering is highly important in designing nano or making nanofiltration membrane. It differentiates mono and divalent ions, and applications are many. I think I'll discuss in next slides. Everybody know reverse osmosis. I don't have to talk about it. Gas separation, so selective permeation of specific gas. Now we all know that gas size is something like in angstroms, most of the gas molecules, and they cannot be separated based on their size. So membranes for gas separation, reverse osmosis, and there is something called as pervaporation, which comes in the beginning. This pervaporation, these are all molecular separations, and membranes used for these cases, they are all non-porous in the nature. What I mean is they're normally used thin film composite, whereas the top skin is non-porous, and that is governing separation application or selectivity aspect. Blood dialysis, we discussed. There are many other examples of many other applications from dialysis, right from lab to commercial aspect. There is something upcoming technology called forward osmosis. So you take the help of, so reverse osmosis works on why the word is reverse. When you have sodium chloride, when you have seawater, it will have some sodium chloride and it will have some osmotic pressure. So while operating the membrane, you have to put extra pressure than its osmotic pressure. That's why the term is reverse osmosis. But imagine I have a solution wherein I want to extract water or concentrate something, say fruit juice. On the other side, if I take sodium chloride solution with very high concentration, probably the water from the fruit juice will travel from low osmotic pressure side to higher osmotic pressure side. So applications of forward osmosis are also coming up in a big way. This OSOFO is basically organic solvent forward osmosis, and many industries are looking for some processes like this, which are going to be cheaper or better in some aspects. I think we'll discuss that a little later. Artificial lung temporary take over of gas exchange. I think during Corona we know all this. Electrical potential gradient. So electrodialysis is a process which transport ions selectively based on the electrical charge. Membrane electrolysis. For example, the classical example is manufacturing caustic soda, hydrogen and chlorine using seawater. Electrofiltration is again another example for concentration of or fractionation of biopolymers. And membrane distillation is another process which is similar to distillation but requires less energy. So these two examples, especially dialysis and manufacture of caustic soda, these are the processes which are not. If they would not have been there, solution would have been difficult. For example, somebody having a kidney issues, dialysis has done marvels for such patients. Similarly, earlier for manufacture of caustic soda, people were using mercury electrode. Now handling mercury and the hazards, I think that's a separate area. You all know that. But using membranes, probably all mercury electrodes are now replaced worldwide. So this is becoming indispensable process. At least in those membrane processes are becoming indispensable. At least in these two cases. I have listed some other membrane areas which are specialty membranes. For example, membrane bioreactor. Now, biological treatment for wastewater. Many municipal corporations are wherein there is a large accumulation of wastewater. People are doing this experiment, applying this technology for getting their clean water for recycle. Now, membrane reactor, again, I have a separate slide on this. We all know what is Leach-Ateliers principle, so LHS and RHS and all that, and how membranes can help there. Probably I'll have some separate discussion on this. Emulsification is required in many industries. So how to do emulsion in a better way? So when we talk about emulsification, we talk about globular size of the globule. So membrane can have a better control on the size, and that size distribution can be very uniform using special type of membranes with uniform porosity. Now, extraction or solvent extraction, we have probably learned in our colleges, but it is also used in industry in a big way. And when you do extraction, surface area is most important, and that is what membrane provides, and that's a big benefit in this particular area as far as membranes are concerned. Supported liquid membrane. This concept is basically you have a liquid which is acting as a membrane, and that is impregnated into pores of a porous membrane. And a lot of applications are coming up, especially for some soluble gases like CO2 or whatever. So when we talk about today CO2 mitigation, many of the people in the world are focusing on supported liquid membrane to beat this challenge. Basically, the challenge is to separate CO2 from air at almost no pressure. So gas separation can be done using pressure as a gradient, but when CO2 is coming as an exhaust from, say, power plant, you can't compress all that gas. That is just impractical or unfeasible. So maybe membrane of this kind can come to help there. Now, fuel cell, probably everybody know. Some time back, maybe a few weeks back, there was a news that India is running its train, its hydrogen train. They used to say. So that hydrogen train is basically generating power using proton exchange membrane fuel cell. Now, this fuel cell is a technique wherein you use hydrogen as a fuel and oxygen from the air as an oxidant. You generate electricity, water, and some heat. So this PMFC technology is coming up. Many of the telecom towers are equipped with PMFC cells just because they can't rely on the common supply of electricity. So whenever there is a electricity generation, people are focusing on hydrogen. Now it's a conversion of hydrogen into electricity in an electrochemical process. So this has got a very big advantage that there is no emission of any gas like CO2, and that's why people talk about. I mean, you all know about hydrogen economy in India. So green hydrogen, yellow hydrogen, brown hydrogen, whatever. So I'm not going into that detail, but hydrogen, if it is used in electrochemical if it is used in PMFC or direct methanol fuel cell or solid oxide fuel cell or anion exchange membrane fuel cell, now these have some typical aspects, advantages or disadvantages. I don't have to discuss here, but all of them are using membranes, and this could be a greener way to get electricity out of hydrogen rather than just burning it. Now, electrolysis of water, ammonia. Now, ammonia is also being thought as a good source of hydrogen because it is going to give you nitrogen, and there is no issue with any emission of hazardous gases. Now, many times membrane technology is combined with established processes, and hybrid processes may prove economical, or are they are proven economical in some of the application sectors. This particular slide talks some detail about type of membrane, for example, ceramic or metallic, glass membrane, sintered polymer membrane. What is the membrane material used? So different polymers or clay or inorganic or metals, how they are prepared. I think I'm not going to spend much time on this, but as a learner, if somebody want to know more details about different types of membranes or membrane materials, how they are prepared, what is the pore size, what are the applications, I think these two slides will shed some light on that. So I'll skip this as of now. Now, when you talk about selection criteria, for example, for membrane, how do I select a membrane material? So I need to consider the nature of permeant, whether it is gas or liquid or whatever, ionic, blah, blah, blah. Membrane and permeant interactions. So they will have some interaction with each other, and probably in RO membrane, some people might be knowing that there is a fouling. So fouling is some origin is here, not all, but some origin is certainly here. Then performance criteria for a membrane in terms of productivity, flux, selectivity, the stability, especially life, and ultimately cost. Okay, and some of these can define what is the membrane configuration and device. For example, spiral membrane or plate and frame membrane or tubular membrane. When to use, there are some thumb rules established through this technology since last 60 years. When you design a system, you need to consider a membrane material selection. Then which module, as I said, hollow fiber or tubular or whatever. And this is not enough. You have to optimize the operating parameters. For example, if I want to separate oxygen from air, or if I want to purify biogas, at what pressure I should do it so that it will be more economical. What should be the flow rate? What should be the temperature? So there are many operating parameters which need to be optimized before we talk about a successful system or an operating system. Basically, success anyway will take little longer as far as life and other aspects are concerned. So economic viability, when we talk, what is the volume to be handled? Let us take an example of biogas. Now, biogas is also being installed on a household level in villages. Now, biogas you get out of it probably may not be enough for putting a separation system. So, when we talk about biogas or hydrogen or some gas separation like this, what is the volume to be handled is most important. What is the separation efficiency? So there are some requirements here also, that unless and until I get this and this purity, probably it's of no cost effective solution. So such kind of thinking goes here in efficiency of a membrane. And you have to worry about installation cost, operation cost, if there is a pre and post treatment required, for example RO membrane or ultrafiltration membrane, or if you have a seawater, you need to do a pre-filtration for removal of particles, all that. So pre-treatments are required in some of the cases before you go for putting membrane there. And ultimately ROI, I think this is applicable to any case or any technology. Now, what are the major drivers for membrane technology to be implemented in industrial level? So demand for better control on economical aspects. Everybody is talking about having something better or having something cheaper at the same time. You want better as well as cheaper. So you have to have some better technology for manufacture of certain things like chemicals or whatever, maybe pharma. So this is to be assisted with economic development. I mean, if you are a poor country, then certainly you can't do this. And fortunately, we are much better in this aspect as of now. We're talking about fourth or fifth economy in the world. Technology advancement, I think this is what I'm going to spend some more time in my next slides. So as far as membranes are concerned, we are poor. Uh, Shifting towards better processes. I think this is a simple law of life, that you use what is available, which is better. And sometimes the policies set by the government is most important. For example, if chemical industries are not enforced with discharge standards, some of them are also talking about zero liquid discharge. So such aspects are important to take care of our environment, our water, our general life of the society. uh, Again, market leadership and competitive advantage. Again, I said here the same aspect over here. Now, when you talk about membrane technology, what are the general advantages over the established processes of separation? So, one important part is membrane normally does physical separation. For example, you're talking about biogas separation, or you're talking about protein separation, or you're talking about some in pharmaceutical applications. Now, membrane modules are modular, their scalability is usually linear, and they require much lower footprint compared to, I mean, somebody has given this percent, 50 to 70% less footprint. Now, lower capex and opex, sometimes 90% reduction. For example, if I compare distillation versus solvent filtration, in some pharmaceutical industry, there is a 90% reduction in the operating cost. And of course, you can enhance product purity using the membrane. Usually, it requires less automation and lower maintenance, provided your membranes are operated in a right way, in a careful manner. There are some certain, for example, if you take a RO membrane or if you take a water purifier at our home, and in rainy season, the cartridges get choked up easily, right? So this is what I mean by saying proper maintenance is required but that may not be a very big aspect. In my in my abstract, I had said somewhere that despite India's impressive achievements in semiconductor, robotics, or defense, or whatever, indigenous membrane technology has received feeble attention. And I have something to say on this. Before I could say that, I thought I should go to what is happening in in India as far as membrane technology is concerned. So I have collected some market figures. I scanned 3 surveys, and they are talking about CAGR of 15. This is percent. Sorry, I missed the unit here. So 15% or 8.4% or 7.8%. So these are certainly good, attractive figures. These figures are of course varying because there are different surveys, and I don't know what is their basis of the survey. But USD billion of this is a big market probably available. Even if I take this 260 as a number, this is a big market in India for membranes. In this survey, the areas which are covered are mostly water related. For example, municipal or domestic drinking water, effluent treatment, either in municipal wastewater or industrial cases or domestic purposes. In power generation, a lot of water is used. So power generation and thermal plants. So they are talking in all these 3 reports, they are talking about water related applications in these different areas, and membranes they are talking are something like RO membrane, ultrafiltration membrane, microfiltration membrane bioreactor, and combination of this in ZLR. My opinion is that in addition to this, there could be some other areas which we need to focus, and I can exemplify that in my next slides. But these reports are saying that challenges are this. So in Indian scenario, the high capital cost of membranes is a big challenge, and probably this was there even in 15 years back when we were talking about RO membrane. They were very costly. Now I don't think anybody talks about high cost of the RO membrane. So awareness or availability probably will govern the cost. I don't think it's a cost of the technology or a material. So lack of adequate awareness. Sometime back, RO membranes were known. Gas separation membranes are being introduced for biogas separation today, but there are many other applications. There are other membranes like pervaporation or whatever, and I'm going to exemplify this in my next slides. So there are many opportunities in India, and awareness is a big aspect. I would say that in India we have a poor awareness about membrane technology. There are operational constraints because there is no skilled manpower available, and operational constraint also include the supply chain management, because we are importing membranes in most of the cases, including maybe caustic soda production or blood dialysis. We are importing all those membranes. So this supply chain management plays a big role in many of the applications. Now, coming to my topic, which I wanted to say out of this particular seminar, that there are ample opportunities in India as far as membrane technology is concerned. We know that pharma were becoming bigger and bigger, or even in API manufacture or small chemical manufacture, we are growing in a big way. So, what is required there is product purification, sterile filtration, quality improvements in any aspect. This is an important criteria, and membrane can help here. Uh, I'm putting some typical cases rather than the general wording that dry solvents are required in most of the for pharma applications. Solvent separation and recycle is a most important aspect because it is associated with cost, and you cannot throw something which is costly. Even if you take a ethanol or methanol as a solvent, it's a cost. So protein isolation, extraction, bacterial biomass isolation. Now many of the biopharma companies are coming up with this, so green technologies. So when they talk about generation of some API or some drug using bacterial process, I think membranes are very, very important over there in their certain applications. So I'm saying that the membrane should be innovative for a simple reason that case to case basis the things are changing, and we need to consider each application as a separate thing rather than talking about just a conventional UF or MF process. Although this is percolated in India, this is only for water as an application. In other areas, I think they are restricted to zealotry aspect. But I feel for especially product purification or being competitive in terms of quality or reduction of the cost, there are many membrane processes could be useful. Now this PV is pervaporation. FO is forward osmosis, OSFO is organic solvent forward osmosis, organic solvent nanofiltration. Now, nanofiltration has said that we can distinguish molecules based on the charge, in some cases sizes, but then interaction of that permeating molecule with the membrane is very important, and such membranes will find application when people in industry are getting more and more industry gets more and more awareness out of their current uses out of this some technologies like this. So agriculture, food and beverages, I'm combining together. There are a lot of applications of membrane in these sectors, especially for safety and shelf life, improving quality. And I can take a simple example here that if you go somewhere in our US or Europe or even Gulf countries, you see dry fruits. For example, apple. If you dry it, if you cut it, it becomes immediately oxidized, color changes, whatever. But if you dry it in a controlled atmosphere, which can be managed by membrane technology, I think this could become a big market in Indian agriculture. Another example could be grapes. They are using sulfur for avoiding bacterial contamination while they are drying the grapes. So that time membranes could be highly useful, and there may be several applications. I mean, I'm just talking about those applications through my thought, and also while talking to those people or experts in those areas, that yes, dry air can be of immense importance here, especially to remove addition of other chemicals or preservatives or whatever. So we need to think again on a case basis that we need to have a fouling resistant membrane if we talk about fruit juice or milk to be concentrated, those kind of things. So economical filtration system based on innovative membrane, what I mean is something like that. When you talk about milk concentration or if you talk about concentration of a fruit juice, the things are going to be different, and you can't use just simple RO membrane or UF membrane. I think the membrane chemistry or engineering has to be involved in membrane selection versus what is available to us is that this kind of membranes are to be imported. I think there's a lot of scope for us to put our efforts in indigenizing membrane technology in some of the areas like this so that we can have a cheaper solution uh, and be competitive in those areas. Now, fuel cell is another example I said. Now we know that the train is running fine, generating electricity using PMFC fine, but everything is imported. It's especially the proton exchange membrane fuel cell is imported. It uses membrane. Now, if you talk about PMFC market, it's in this is Indian figures, by the way. This is not worldwide. So I got again these numbers from Google Guru. So numbers could be different, but they could be nearby these numbers. So fuel cell market, maybe telecom industry or maybe automotive industry. You name the automotive companies, they are working on fuel cells, but demonstrating or selling fuel cell, I think this is yet to happen to my knowledge. If somebody proves me wrong, I'll be most happy. So you see the compound annual growth rate, 20%. I think we must focus on some areas like this as a technology. I'm not talking only about the membrane, but as a technology involving membrane. I'm covering basically the technologies which are involving membrane. I'm not completing everything. For example, drone manufacturing. I'm not putting because drones are not my area or membranes are not being used there. So I'm putting here these emerging aspects which are related to membrane. So fuel cell is one, and PMFC or DMFC or SOFC has their own. So there is a Central Glass Research Institute in Calcutta. They are working on SOFC since last probably 30 years. In NCL, there were efforts since last 20 years on PMFC, and we have been working with some, or we are working with some industries like KPIT demonstrated some bus, you know that, and there is a involvement of NCL and CSIR in demonstrating that bus or developing fuel cell indigenously in that particular case. So some labs are doing some efforts, but they need to be speeded up. Uh, Many new companies are coming up in fuel cell market, and I think I'm hopeful that this will get propagated fast. Why I'm putting this? Because there is a need, there is a money available, and there is a technology, there's a mindset available, if not the technology, but good minds are available in India. Same is applicable to electrolyzer. We are talking about hydrogen economy. I mean, we are trying to export, or we are expecting the export of hydrogen at some point of time. I don't know whether it is 2030. I think around that time, as government had announced it a couple of years back. So our production is expected to be 5 metric ton. Now, this hydrogen is to be produced using electrolyzers, either pronation membrane electrolyzer or annihilation membrane electrolyzer or alkaline type electrolyzer. All of them need membrane as a heart of that technology, and none is manufactured in India. So when we talk about these aspects, whatever I showed in my report 1, 2, or 3, these aspects are completely missing. And thus I thought I should focus on these technologies wherein there is a big demand. Combined biogas and CBG. Now, CBG is compressed biogas is a replacement of CNG. So CNG knows the marvels it has done with the Delhi atmosphere, or before CNG was introduced, I think there was a lot of dust, lot of vehicular pollution in Delhi. And after that, probably the pollution has reduced. Probably this was 10 years back, I'm talking. Uh, and this revolution is happening all over India. I mean, Indian government is helping in a big way to install different biogas plants, and Reliance, Adani's are coming up in these areas. See the growth percent. This is humongous, and this is just because government is supporting it. I must say that. I mean, Atal Innovation, or there are many schemes which are propagating CBG installation. Uh, Technology on biogas production, although is probably matured in India, either using Napier grass or cow dung or any organic matter, or basically biomass. So biomass to biogas is very well established, but getting carbon dioxide out of that, which is something like around 40%, all over the world, membrane is being considered as the best technology. And Genrich membranes, my company has started manufacturing these membranes, but then we are still far away in being taken notice of. Uh, and then there are some issues, I think we'll not discuss that here, but ultimately, yes, we need to go into some areas like this, or fuel cell or electrolyzer, and there are ample opportunities for new for investing money to either industries or anybody who has money. I think I'm not using that conventional investor as a word, because investor is a different area. Yes, they need something, whether you have last 3 years balance sheet or whatever. Now I'm talking about some things which are coming up very fast. 3 years, certainly they can't define themselves as a successful companies. So investor, I'm saying in that aspect probably is unreachable, but industries who are established in applying this should come forward and take a big role in developing this membrane technology. That is what I would say out of this particular slide, since all the membranes are imported and at high cost. I mean, the way it was talked about RO probably 15 years back, the membranes are very costly. Same is happening today with the gas separation membrane for biogas. Now, I can tell you another example. We demonstrated hydrogen separation in one refinery for recovering their hydrogen from waste gas. And they are saying, the refinery is saying that their ROI is hardly 12 months using my membranes which are manufactured in India. Versus if they import the membrane, they are saying it's impossible. So such scenario can be changed if we, pay attention to this technology. This is what my humble request to stakeholders. Now, industrial solvent separation market projected to be something like around $2.3 billion with CAGR of this. Now, this is not considering the membrane application. If you put membrane, I think there is a lot of scope of solvent stable membrane, either nanofiltration or ultrafiltration or whatever. So there is the scope, and yes, probably all institutes like IITs, NITs, or whatever, they know what is membrane. Many people are working on membrane, but unfortunately, there is no even a single course or a subject membranes are taught maybe as a part of one chapter. I think that is not enough when we are looking at the development happening in India. OSN, this is number which I again got from Google, slashes energy consumption up to 90%. This is what example I said in my earlier slide, as compared to traditional thermal distillation. Now you can easily get convinced, because thermal distillation, you are providing a lot of heat, and this is to be done. OSN is to be operated at ambient temperature. So huge energy saving in this particular case. Same I can talk about dehydration of ethanol. Now everybody know what is E20, and this is yearly consumption 1,600 crore, and the norm is water should be present which is less than 0.2%. Now, alcohol is also used in other industries. So CAGR is 14% for alcohol production. But when you talk about dehydration cost, using zeolite, which is today's technology being used all over India, it is something like 25 to $65 per ton. And this dehydration is done at around 120 degrees centigrade and using certain zeolites, which are all imported. All are imported. I don't know whether some companies in Delhi, I don't know whether they started manufacturing zeolites for alcohol dehydration. I'll be happy if they have. But my understanding is many of the people are just building the plant based on imported zeolites. Now, import substitution is a big word being talked today, not just by PM Modi, but also understood by common people like us. So, if you use pervaporation, that can be operated at ambient temperature. And again, when I talk about this temperature versus ambient, you can imagine what could be the cost saving in applying pervaporation technology for dehydration. Now, dehydration is not only limited to ethanol, maybe propanol, isopropanol. Big way is used in a big way in pharma industry. So other solvents. So these other solvents, I'm saying this number, that if there is some pharma industry or some chemical industry, they are producing something, the solvent cost is something like around 34.7%. Now, recycle of solvent is most important, and many of the people need dry solvents, and I think recycling, drying, whatever, membrane can do a big job here, and this is completely missing in India to my understanding. VOC removal, volatile organic compound. I mean, we all know what happens when we pass through some industrial area, get some chemical, especially chemical industry, we get some smell or whatever. Now that has some effect on our health. Okay. So removal of volatile organic compounds from either water or from air is the easier job, I would say, with the membrane, and this can be immediately applied. At least in the case of petrol, you can accept that if you go to a petrol pump, you see a smell, and at some point of time, Indian Institute of Petroleum, Dehradun, had done survey in 2005 or during that time, that there is a loss of around 7 lakh rupees per petrol pump per year. This was in maybe 20 years back. Now today the situation must be even more worse. Uh, Another aspect of VOC or particulate removal, which Mr. Vaidya was referring to, is something like we're trying to make some, we not trying, we actually made, and I can demonstrate you that we can make a clean room without having a AC in that, wherein the particle count will be zero using membrane technology. And I have that at my place. If somebody want to have a look at it, I can show. Now imagine a clean room. We imagine a huge investment. I think we need to think little different. That is my requirement is AC environment. If not, then probably I can get particle free. For example, your car, the particles from your car can become zero if I use my membrane technology there within just 13 to 17 minutes. This is measured. So, COPD is a cause, COPD is a disease which is third largest reason of death worldwide because of some illness. Now, in COPD, China is first, India is second. See the number of people who are getting affected with COPD. I think we must provide a clean air. We must provide particle-free air. All that can happen probably when we come out of the known established techniques and apply something new. Now, I think I'm crossing my time. So I have one or two slides more. So, health aspect, VOC removal, I think membrane can certainly come to help there. Membrane distillation, again, when we talk about distillation, I think this particular technique can overcome limitation of RO in a big way, especially when we talk about ZLD. So zero liquid discharge, I think membrane distillation can come to help in a big way, provided there are some better membranes and some engineering solution with even conventional membrane. So what I'm saying here out of this particular sentence is, if the membranes are not there, probably there is a better engineering possible in India. I mean, we can go to moon or Mars. I always say this, that we have ample what you call brain available in India. We need to pick that up and apply for certain things like this, and we can have solutions which probably could be first to be demonstrated. I'm okay with that. So hollow fiber contain liquid membrane for CO2 separation, hydrogen, H2S separation, facilitated transport, solvent, again, extraction. I think membrane can be useful there in a big way. Controlled release, big technology being discussed in drug release aspects. I think we need to focus more on that. Membrane reactor, I want to spend more, some maybe 1 minute on this. There's a huge scope. When we talk about Leach-Atlas principle, equilibrium reactions, I think esterification, many chemical industries are doing esterification, alkylation, even ammonia manufacturing Haber's process. We know it's an equilibrium reaction. DME, dimethyl ether, was being talked, even NCL was in news sometime back, maybe a couple of months back, that it can replace the diesel or even a home cooking gas. So DME manufacturing should be focused, and DME, we are focusing only on catalyst development. If we have some little attention on equilibrium reaction, I think membrane can prove much better here. And I'm not talking as my thought. Many publications are there on membrane reactor aspect. So I'm talking based on some understanding which is reported in the literature and be or being proven as economically feasible option. Well, I think this is my last slide, or maybe last but one. Domestic membrane manufacturers, RO, UF, NF, MF, this is something like we need to focus on, and there is nothing except probably ion exchange who is doing RO membrane, nanofiltration and ultrafiltration membrane being done for water application. I'm talking about other applications other than water, and there is huge opportunities for all type of membranes to be manufactured in India, in India, especially when special purpose machine manufacturers or engineering companies or IT infrastructure, we have everything. Now, IT infrastructure is required for getting data at right time, or predicting some failures or taking care of. So IT infra will certainly be required in membranes. So we have certain things. I think we need to just change our focus on using membranes or hybrid technologies wherever needed. Now, whenever we talk about agriculture, I think solar energy to be used there is going to be a big success if membranes need to be used there, because agricultural sector goes in a conventional way, and when we establish something in a society, I think the help from some technologies like this could be needed for the better outcome of combining technologies or even an individual technology. uh, Manpower, I already said that universities need to focus on membrane as an area. And if I say membrane, most of the membranes are polymeric in nature. And if I talk about polymer as a course, I don't know how many universities or IITs or NITs are teaching. But on membranes, I'm sure only some small chapter is discussed. This industry academia collaboration, I think I don't have to speak about this. What I would say is that we need a better mechanism for this to be successful. Now, when we talk about separation cost varying from 20 to 70% in different, and then this is known number, that if you talk about any separation, probably it costs you around 20 to 70% than the product cost, or overall cost. So separation using membranes, especially when there is a gas and liquid, I think has a bright future in India. And we need to focus on this while considering all the aspects like this, that even we need to have a specialized polymers. For example, when I talk about gas separation for biogas, I can't compete using commercially available polymers, because most of the gas membrane manufacturing people, they have their own polymer manufacturing reserved only for them. Well, I'm doing some efforts on this aspect, but then we need to come out of just polyethylene or polypropylene or polystyrene manufacturing. This is what I want to say here. After all, creativity, hunger for self-reliance, and risk appetite. I think this risk appetite out of from industries. This is what I would really request for using this technology for our betterment. Now I'm again coming to my same sentence. Here, we are doing marvelous achievements. Robotics, defense, advanced materials. Maybe before 2014, we never thought that we will export some defense equipments or some defense related products. We were not expecting that there are 100, minimum 100 companies working on drones with defense, only defense. When we have this just change within 15 years or even less than that, why we can't do this next part? I mean, yes, I'm saying that we can do it. I'm highly positive. But this is possible because industry were forced by the government that you do this. Okay. And then I would compare with the China, that they are ahead in many manufacturing. I mean, we call them as a manufacturing hub. Why we can't focus on other areas, especially we're talking about many of these things. For example, materials or rare earth element. A lot of people are discussing about rare earth or radioactive materials. We don't have right technology that everybody says, but is it difficult? No, because there is an example here, and this is what I wanted to say. Don't take my that sentence negative in a negative mode, but I wanted to just convince that when we can achieve this, we can certainly achieve this. And who should take the responsibility? I think this is my last sentence in my presentation. Should it be really government? I think we should think wisely on this aspect.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. We really
Well,
appreciate your efforts.
can I have maybe 1 minute?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so some cartoons. Whenever, I mean, this is my personal experience that I have a biogas membrane. Okay, great plan. Could you get some more details? I mean, you be first to use it. Okay, indigenous membrane, and then you talk about getting data. So I have this cartoon for that. When we talk about import of membrane for other application, I think I want to refer this cartoon. That it should not happen that if you want this membrane, you have to also purchase this. And ultimately, probably this will happen. And as far as membranes are concerned, outside in membrane industries have spent a lot of time. What we want is this. Yes, it's possible. We demonstrated in last 10 years in other areas, and this is what we require. Thank you very much for your patience,
Okay.
and I'm sorry if I have taken longer time.
Yeah. You have taken longer time, but we didn't stop you because the scientist was talking words like CSIR, market size. We thought you really mean, and you have proved it starting your industry. We really appreciate. Before we go for question and answer, though we have exceeded, we will take few questions. Next Sunday, we are having a very good another technology, harness manufacturing or harness design. And Girish Ranade, our member, is here. He is going to talk next Sunday at 10 o'clock. So don't miss that. Those who are joined for the first time can become our member and attend the programs. So friends, now we will throw open the platform for question and answer. We will take few questions, but definitely we will take. Please go ahead, identify yourself and ask questions.
Yeah, this is SP Bhatnagar. Can I?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah,
Please.
Go ahead.
please go ahead, Dr. Bhatnagar.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for a fantastic talk. Actually, I'm a physicist, and I was always interested in knowing more about what membranes can do, etc. Just a common sense question kind of thing. We see in the RO plants which we are using at home, there's a lot of wastage of water. So can we reduce that or can we control that? That's my one question. Second is, you talked about the dry air for drying the fruits and vegetables. So there with the solar energy, perhaps we can have a very good combination. So what's your comment about that? Thank you.
Yeah, I think thank you for your both questions. The second one I'll answer first. That yes, when we want to implement drying technology using membrane, so drying is basically removing water. And if we have a rainy season, we know what happens to drying of our clothes. So yes, if we could use solar energy rather than focusing only on producing electricity, probably demonstrating such technologies for the benefit of either farmers or common people, I think yes, I must echo with you that solar energy must be used for drying application. Coming to your first question about RO, the very first thing that RO is to be used only in the area where there is a high salinity. Certainly not in Pune or Mumbai, who is using surface water. In Chennai, they are using seawater. Fine. So RO can be used in Chennai or some of the coastal areas in Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh. But using RO in other areas wherein there is no issue of salinity, I think RO should never be used. Okay. Now, when we install water purifier at home, there are additional aspects which probably I don't want to discuss here about business and all that. But yes, I think ultrafiltration membrane could be useful in surface water cases, especially in internal part of India.
Sir, he was asking about the wastage of water because in dialysis center also I saw a lot of water waste and it is required. That's why people are wasting it. But there is a lot of waste of water.
Yeah, so water wastage in RO is known aspect. I don't deny that. But there is another solution called membrane distillation, which could be useful in zero liquid discharge. This is what I said. So there are alternate technologies available. Now, whether RO to be used in domestic water, that is what I was answering. But yes, reject of RO is an important aspect, a known fact, and that can be taken care of using parallel technology called membrane distillation. Am I answering your question?
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay, next question, please. Any question?
Hello, sir. This is Anagha Karne.
Yeah, please.
Being a teacher, I want to ask you, as you mentioned that introducing this membrane technology in the curriculum is necessary. So I want to know what kind of career opportunities will be available for students if this course is introduced.
Well, people are using membranes in a big way in different industries. May it be for water today, but ultimately, how? Suppose if I'm importing membrane, I need to know what kind of membrane I need to import. If I'm making membrane, I need to know what is membrane. So knowledge-based creation is important in terms of for percolating the technology to society and industry. This is what I would say. There is no knowledge of how membranes to be used. If some supplier is telling you, oh, use this way, he gives you 1 to 10 parameters. Rather than that, there could be some person who know membrane as a science or technology, and then he uses it. There will be certainly a difference. I hope I'm clear on this. So creating
I think, doctor, if you can make a syllabus, probably we tech forum as a tech forum, we can put forward with universities to introduce that, because there are now many Swayat universities, private universities. They can take it up if there are job opportunities, because you have already given the figure, the kind of jobs and turnover it is likely to face. So I suggest you write a syllabus so that we can go to different rather education industries and request them to start the process.
yeah, certainly I'll be happy to coordinate with someone like Madam if there. We can do that.
Yes,
It
and
is
Dr.
required.
Anaga Karne definitely can looking out for this kind of input.
Yes, we have Department of Chemistry where students are learning industrial polymer chemistry. So I
Yeah.
think in that will be a right program to introduce this kind of a course. Yeah,
Yes,
so
yes,
surely
Yeah.
we'll discuss on this. And
yeah.
one more question, sir. I want to know how does the CO2 removal happens with the membranes? So how is CO2 removal is working? Can you
Are you
explain
talking
more?
about biogas? So CO2 is to be removed from either biogas or gas coming out of from coal-powered electricity
Producer,
generation plant.
producer gas. Huh?
So produce the gas. So CO2 or any other gas, nitrogen, methane, they are all having their kinetic diameter in the range of angstroms. So the permeation happens because of sorption diffusion mechanism. Now sorption is a combination of adsorption and absorption, and the driving force is a pressure. So pressure gradient applied to gas mixture and preferentially soluble gas permeates.